Good God night. This is going to be a night light. I had planned to come and talk from a different book tonight, but I decided to change the whole situation because this kept speaking to me about this situation for the singles or those that are pretending to be married but shacking up. So I wanted to kind of talk to you just a few minutes about this subject about counterfeit companions. I'm going to read a little statement from why my book about why some may never marry, but I want to just kind of share a little bit about why this book mattered to me. I just want to talk to you talking about those areas in our lives when we feel like, well, I'm getting older, and, who's going to marry me? But I want to keep on making it real. That's why I was led to write this book. Sadly to say, I'm on page right now 36. I'm talking about why this book matters. But sadly to say, some people won't marry. And it is sad because so many people, feel that they found someone that's lovable, but because they feel like they can't seem to get that person, they feel they're not lovable. And this book I wrote it not because people have felt like that they've been forgotten or anything like that, but I've written this because God has made a decision that some of you need to recognize these areas of counterfeit in our lives. And so I'm going to jump over to page 37 that says, you may already suspect it, that the reason you're single or struggling in love has less to do with timing and more to do with trust, not just trusting others, but trusting yourself to be seen, to be chosen, to be enough. Okay, so I'm gonna stop there. That's on page 36 of the book because I want to jump into this meat of this matter here. I'm gonna start doing some of my Little Red Fox talks here on Nightlight, is what I want to call it, because there is a little red fox that many people don't realize that have really turned into a wolf already. Okay, so today I want to talk about the counterfeit companions. I want to talk about those people or relationships that seem so familiar that you feel safe with them, but deep down you know you're not. So everybody wants companion, right? Everybody want to get hooked up real quick. But not everybody wants character. That's the thing. Not everybody wants character. Not everybody don't want to think about the fruit of the spirit. So let me say it plainly like this. Not every smile means safety. Not every interest means intention, right? And not every person walking beside you is walking with you. I don't want to preach, but I'm trying to talk to you tonight on this night light, okay, about this counterfeit companion you might be with right now. You see, some people don't come to walk life with you. They come to study you. They come to see if they can benefit from you. And then after they quietly drain you, I call them sapsuckers. After they quietly drain you, then they're gone. So tonight, we're talking about counterfeit companions, not strangers, not enemies, not obvious villains. I'm talking about the ones who you're looking at right now in the same bed with you. I'm talking about those right now that you know that seems right. I mean, maybe they may be a companion as a friend. Maybe they may be a companion that you feel like that this is who you should be engaged to. It sounds right, it sounds tight, right? But it is right, because you know that they feel so familiar, but spiritually they are emotionally misaligned, and you know it. So let's talk about what a counterfeit companion is. First of all, this is someone who mimics connection, right? And they lack a covenant. They just there. They're trying to see, like I always say, they want to get the milk and don't want to buy the cow. All right. So this is someone who mimics connection, but they lack the covenant. That means they imitate the intimacy. That means, but they do not carry the integrity. They're not there for real. They got a whole nother agenda. So they borrow the language that feels right for you, and they try to talk it. They mirror your values, right? They echo your dreams and everything you've already told them, and they want to look like it. They'll buy you a little something, or do things to make it look like that they're really in your corner and that you really are a companion, that you really are that real, true God sent mate. Okay. But they do not share your depths. No, they don't. You know, they don't even qualify. They do not share your discipline or your destiny. And you still with them. You know this because you're desperate. But they are near you right now, but not for you. I want you to pay attention to this nightlight and I want you to share it. See, a counterfeit companion, they don't show up empty handed. They show up all well packaged. They know what to do. They know how to get with you. They know how to buy you. They know how to make you feel real intimate and beautiful and all that. They know how to make sure they make love to you so good that you're gonna keep on remembering. They know how to do the very thing that you probably already told them that you like in the bed. They probably did all these things to make sure that they stay connected. I know a whole bunch of them that those counterfeits out there about to hate me right now, but I don't care. You can just listen to it, get rid of it, put a word ugly on it all you want. But I'm gonna be right here. I'm gonna keep showing these little red foxes that really are wolves right in your face. Thank God that God has given me so much wisdom that I can talk to people today to let you understand that you need to recognize these counterfeit and these sapsuckers. Now, let's talk about some of the signs that you can recognize on these counterfeit companions, because some of you got a whole bunch of people of them kind right now in your face. So I want to look at it in the practical form first, okay? So what they do, number one, they rush into the emotional access. They want to make sure that they can access you emotionally. They want closeness, okay? They want to keep saying, I just miss you. Just when I hear your voice, it just melts me. You know, I just miss you so much. You're saying that on the woman's side, and the bro saying, babe, it's just something about you, you know. I've been thinking about you all night long. You know, I just know God sent you. They're getting you shaped in. So they want closeness before before trust is built. And then they share their trauma. This is where a whole bunch of you women making a mistake. You want to share your trauma. You know, I've been through so much. This last relationship, it was so hard for me, but I really feel like it was good that we broke up. I just don't want to go through that anymore. I just don't want to, do that. And I know you feel like you want to be closer, and then he slowly spend the night, slowly bringing in clothes. I don't want to get too far into that. But listen, they share the trauma fast, right? But they don't heal. First of all, and then they bond over pain, but they avoid responsibility. Listen to me. Been there and done this thing. That's what I'm trying to show you now. See, they want fast intimacy. See, fast intimacy is often slow destruction. That's what the Lord is trying to get me to tell you tonight in this night light. Second thing they do, they admire you. I just told you this a while ago. They admire you until you need them to grow up. Now you want to build a man. You want to build a woman. You can't do that because you want to make her look like this blessed, highly favored woman at church. So you want to make him look like, he looking like he's changed when you know he's still out there going to the club. You know she's still out there wearing the hoochie mama clothes, but yet you want to make her seem like she's grown by buying her clothes and buying her thing or being with him and buying him things to make him look like the holy little man that you want him to look, or her look like that holy woman of God that you want her to look like. Why? This is why they do when they admire you. They love your gifts. Yes, they do. They enjoy your strength and they benefit from your insight. But when you evolve, here is the problem. When you evolve, heal, or set boundaries, they resist. Okay? They start to mock it and think you all of that and about bag of chips, just because you on the board with these or you in the choir now. They want to mock it now. Or they want to emotionally punish you by not calling no more, about disappearing. They call it ghost today, right? Whatever. It's an emotional punishment. Here's number 3. They require you to shrink. Now, this is what's wrong with a whole bunch of women today that's trying to go somewhere. And now you got these dudes all around you talking about, man, I really don't have no time for all that. Oh, man, I didn't know you was bringing the children. They want you to shrink back. They don't want your kids to come. They don't want to hear the cheering noise. They want to close you up in the room and shut you off with your children. I know I'm talking to you. But yet you want to ignore the fact that he's trying to shrink you from what you're trying to do with your children, and not he don't want to be with all that noise. Can't you put them to bed so we can watch a movie? Well, really what they want you to do, they want you to shrink back, abandon your children, so your children can see you close the door while you with him, and now they're abandoned. That means they're going to talk about that you're too intense with all this motherhood, or they want to be mean to your children and say you just too soft with these children. They need some real hard fatherly type of behavior to come down on them. Lord help, they're too deep, is what they say to you. You're too deep. You're too spiritual. You're too emotional. My God. Or you just too much. I know you heard this before, and you probably saying it to them because you know they counterfeit, but you still with them. What this is translating into is that you're too awake. And I've been saying it over and over again, are you woke? Okay, can you see? They're saying you're too woke, right? You're too awake for what they intend to keep hidden from you. That's the real goal of it. Number 4, their words and patterns don't match. So what they do is they try to talk commitment to you. I've been there, I've done that. You talking commitment to me for these 6 months you've been living here, and I ain't seen no ring. I just went crazy one day with my hair started standing on my head. I started throwing things saying, get out now. I'm not living like this no more. 6 years and you ain't married me? I know I'm talking to somebody. 6 years. Get out. I want to make sure that I set some type of image for my daughter and my son. You're not going to just keep living here and you ain't married me. 6 whole years. You got all the cookies and the cake and the ice cream and milk and everything else and eating up the food. And your commitment, bye. And a whole bunch of you have been said bye. Why? Because their words are patterns. These things don't match. Okay, they promise change, but they keep repeating the cycle over and over again, babe. That I thought for sure I was gonna keep that job. They had no intention because when before they even got with you, they never kept a job. But you didn't do your homework. All you saw was the muscles. All you knew was the sex was good. But the joker never kept a job. The joker never could. And then she still want to stay on the food stamps. Ain't trying to go up no higher. But you doing your best, going to work, trying to get her to know, babe, we can do so much more. We can get off these stamps. Well, we can do more, but no, nothing match, So they explain everything away, but they transform into nothing. Okay, they got all the explanations, and we know these explanations are cheap. These are patterns, and they're very expensive because you want to stay there. That's why I always say these relationships is going to cost you. It's very expensive. Number 5, I gotta get ready to get off here. You feel so drained. I remember all the time just being so tired, trying to figure out how. And the worst part about me is the joke will work with me. Listen, a whole bunch of get these jobs for these people, a whole bunch of trying to do everything to make them look like they really, really have arrived because you know that they don't qualify to be with you anyway. So now you feel drained. You feel confused, or now you're second guessing the relationship. Now you're trying to see whether or not you can get somebody else to see, really pretty much going to be pretty much like this same thing, counterfeit. Because you ain't getting no help. You go to some counseling. Okay. You feel drained. You feel confused. You have this second guessing about your own self. Lord, I'm trying to slow it down. Okay. See, healthy companions, they bring clarity. They don't bring confusion, right? When I realized there was nothing that we can be, agree on, or nothing that it seemed like everything was a confusion, or everything that made me feel like I was less than just because I wanted more. It was like, what's wrong with you? We don't need to be doing all that. All that ain't necessary, but that's because they don't want to do nothing. Lord help. And so I felt so just out of it. When I wanted to go to college, he would always say, girl, you're too old for that. What you going to college for? Thank God I didn't listen. I wouldn't even have my degree today. Listen. See, healthy companions bring clarity. That means y'all on the same wave, you don't have confusion. You're like, babe, yes, come on, hon, and some of you still trying to do the homework for them, doing everything for them. And I remember when we took a class together, I got to tell this one. We took a class together, and then I said, well, good, at least he's trying to go to school with me. I took a class together with the joker. I did all of his homework. I know I'm talking to you. I did all of his homework. And he kept saying, I don't understand this. You need to hurry up. We got to turn this in. And then when the finals came, the joker made an A and I made a B. My blood pressure went to the top of my head. I say, what you say? I went to the teacher. She didn't change it. I went to the dean because I was mad about it. I went to the dean. I said, I did this work for him and y'all giving him a A and I got a B. Oh no, I want to go ahead and spill the beans. I'm the one that did all that homework. Well, for what that was worth, it was too late. They already gave him the A on his report card, and mine got a B. But anyway, let's keep going. So that means growth has come when you start talking to yourself about why. You should be thinking, how am I going to make myself grow up? So you should have growth and not guilt. That means you need to go forward in something else. So if you're always tired, if you're doubting, that your discernment is off, or that you're being too hard, or that you explaining their behavior to yourself, they're saying that this is not love, but yet this is simply an entanglement that you have put yourself in. Oh, Lord have mercy. Many times the reason why you're getting tricked like this, here's the real reason why you're getting tricked. See, most of the time, I'm just going to tell you the real truth. Most of the time, it's because deception works only when it touches a wound. See, that's when you start to get a revelation, because now it's touching your pain, that thing that had happened to you once before. Why? Because loneliness makes things appear to be so familiar and safe, right? This is the reason why you still keep going. I know I'm talking to somebody. This is the reason why I just said, no, I'm gonna read this here tonight a little bit. I'm gonna get you to recognize this, so you can go get the book, okay? Why some may never marry. Because a whole lot of things I talk about there in myself, what happened, why I was there, and why I'm not married now. Okay, because a whole bunch of you need to understand what I'm talking about right now. I talked about it in the book. Okay. But see, loneliness, it makes it familiar. It makes it feel safe. Thank God. I was never lonely at all. I just wanted to have sex. Never lonely. That's all. Just wanted to have sex. And then when they leave or wouldn't leave, I want them to leave because I'm done what I need with you. But I had to get counseling to understand that this was not going to be my relief. I hope I'm talking to you. You see, because relief makes you accept almost anything that feels warm, that feels good, that feels complete, that feels like they love me. Okay. But a lot of you all are still in the rejection mode, or still in the abandon mode, or in the trauma of incest and a whole bunch of other stuff that you probably are still hanging there in that trauma and thinking that this is going to make you feel complete. I don't want to preach. Anyway, let's look at number 2 on this thing, why you get tricked and trapped. Number 2, you have this unhealed trauma in a way that most of the time these mistakes that you've made, or the attention that you were requesting from that person or hoping that they would give you, you was hoping that would be the affection that you needed. Okay. And one of the things that I found over the years and working with clients, even, in relationships, when someone grew up unseen, or someone grew up unheard, or someone grew up unloved, or, been abused in some way, or rejected, or the black sheep, and that's what I was. That's the reason why I said, well, maybe if I just have sex or whatever, they'll still want me even with all these scars on my face. Okay. So when someone grew up like that, that means you feeling unloved. That means you feel like you need the attention to feel like you loved. Okay. I talk about in my book about I want to know love. Okay. Some people just know love sexually, and that's all I ever knew it was. I never knew someone to really love me. I talk about that in my book. I want to know love. Know means that it becomes very intimate. It means that it's really real, like you know God. So attention feels like love, even when it's manipulation. I know I'm talking to you. Even when it's cunning, even when it's counterfeit, even when you know it's abusive, emotionally, if they ain't hitting you. Lord help me today. Anyway, number 3, potential is what I talked about, as you see there on the flyer. Why are you marrying just potential? See, potential is a substitute. What it does, potential becomes the substitute for the character or the fruit of the spirit that you're hoping for. And you know it ain't really that. It's just a potential. This is where people get trapped. They don't fall in love, with the ones that they hope. They don't fall in love like that. They fall in love with who they are. They fall in love with who you believe they could become, and they ain't nowhere near it. I know I'm talking to because I was there. He was one good looking dude. I thought for sure that he would just be this person that I knew. He was smart in some ways, but there's so much weakness in the other way. That's the reason why I still can't believe that I went there. What can he do for me? You know, what can you do other than have sex with me? This is just crazy. Think about that. So, but hear me clearly. Potential is not a promise. Potential is not repentance, and potential is not maturity. Okay, so you can keep on doing that thinking, and they supposed to be the one right there in your bed. They finna take you out. Right there in your bed, they finna keep you emotionally drained and mentally ill because you know that you can't live like this, but yet you there with that potential or that builder man or builder wife. Lord help me today. Number four, some of this potential stuff that I'm talking about right now, that means that spiritually, you feel because you go to church and they go too, and y'all go together and y'all do Bible study and all this stuff together, and they look so super spiritual and wonderful and anointed, right? But spiritually, the spiritual language without spiritual fruit, you already trapped. You already can't see. Because first of all, you faking it and they faking it. Some people can quote scriptures all day long, but what they do is they dodge accountability. Okay, they're not living it. They love to quote it and they love to go in the atmosphere to be this counterfeit. They pray loud prayers, but they live in this shallow kind of life. I know I'm talking to you. They sound anointed, but they behave in this place that you don't even know if they have the title, what they say that they are, or the fruit that they say that they are, because their behavior is somewhere way off. They feel like they have this entitlement in the spirit realm because they go to church, because they take the Bible, because they have a title. I don't want to talk like this, but I have to. Because what's happening is spiritual talk without spiritual fruit is nothing but camouflage. That's all it is. I want you to look at Proverbs 13 and 20. I didn't want to come on here and make this church, but I did want to talk to you. Look at Proverbs 13 and 20. It says, he who walks with the wise grows wise, but a companion of fools suffers harm. Please get my book. The other one is called Five Kinds of Practical Wisdom. Five Kinds of Practical Wisdom. I'm going to come back and talk out of it a little bit later on. But I want to hit this one right now that came in my spirit about this counterfeit. Okay. So I want you to notice it doesn't say enemy, right? It says companion. It says, but a companion of fools, right? And some harm doesn't come actually from opposition, it comes from association. Think about the companions that you're with. You ain't got to be dating them. It could be your sister, girlfriend, or your friend. Listen to me. 1 Corinthians 15 and 33 says, do not be deceived. Bad company corrupts good character. And that's the reason why a lot of y'all probably delayed, because they counterfeit too. See, you can do things and you can be good and still be corrupt by proximity. That means they're around you. You're going to be like them. You're going to be acting like them. I know I'm talking to somebody. Think about this. I want you to say like this. A counterfeit companion will always try to celebrate you. They'll celebrate your calling, but they will resent your growth. And that's the reason why they're going to always say, man, what you doing? I'm not in all that. I'm not for all that. I like the way we been. I want to get back to our ways, what we was. I want you to sit with that for a minute. I just want us to be able to get along. That's why you're going to get along and be lukewarm and counterfeit while I'm trying to go somewhere. The children watching you too. They watching you to see what are you really doing. So if you're watching this and you already know you're connected to someone like this, hear me clearly. Hear me. I'm not going to even say it soft. I'm going to say it hard because I have to, so you can understand. This isn't about shame. This isn't about only the clarity that we need. It's about for you to think about, am I really weak? And really, sincerely, you're not weak and you're not a fool and you're not broken. You are awake now because you hear me. So you're held accountable. And awareness is the first mercy that God will have for us when you have awareness. That means you need to get with the program, pull the things out, they say, the blinders off, And see, God does not expose you to embarrass you. What he's trying to do, he's trying to expose you to extract that hell from you. I know I'm talking to you. I want you to just listen to me with this one. I'm gonna leave with you. I gotta go. Never marry potential, okay? Never covenant with confusion. Okay. Never sacrifice peace with these type of people that you have with you for proximity. They want to be close to you because they know the anointing, they know the potential that you have, and they have nothing. They just sap the oil from you and then want to tell people, God showed me that, when they stealing things from you in your thoughts and your ways. They want to dress like you, they want to be around you, they want to see what you're doing next, and you sharing everything. And you wondering why you ain't going ahead and they are. So you need to choose companions who can apologize without excuses, who can grow without being forced, without you having to hold their hand, who can love without being controlled, right? Or letting you control them or they controlling you, and who can walk without draining you. You know, who you can walk along with, who you can believe that y'all can build each other up without draining you. I call them sapsuckers. Get that book too that I wrote. Discerning undercover sapsuckers. Because most of the time they are there to get what they can get from you. I thank God I discern a whole bunch of sapsuckers. They think I can't see them. But I see you. And I believe that God wants us to be able to pray and continue to ask him how to handle the sapsuckers. That's what I'm doing right now. And if you walk alone for this season here, and you decide that I want to be free and you want to walk free, you no longer want to be in this false companionship. You no longer want to be falsely accompanied by these deceptive gamesters, is what I call them, gangsters, sapsuckers. And really, it's because you want solitude with God. You know, you want things to be safer. You want your company to come to you that's going to be truthful and everything, right? I gotta go. I think I said enough here tonight. I got the GO. Remember, counterfeit companions don't always leave when you ask them. Because he certainly did. I thought I want to tear my whole house up to get him out. But I was doing a lot of psycho moves in there, though. I was throwing and breaking things. I'm not telling you to be violent, but I was stayed up and drained, tired of giving, nothing changing. Get out. Get out now. He got out maybe I think somewhere around maybe 5 or 6 months later. We were getting ready to prepare to be married, but he saw you ain't gonna be able to keep sitting over here eating up and getting all the milk and cookies and ice cream and everything. No, you got to go, bro. But he came back with the ring, and we got the help and to talk about everything. But I'm talking to you. See, counterfeit companions, they don't always leave. They not. When you ask them to go, that you're trying to start anew for your life in this 27, somebody better hear me for January right now. Before January end, you better hear me right now, okay? Because you're going to stay right in these things I just talked to you about in this counterfeit companionship, okay? So they since they ain't going to always leave when you ask them, and that is because they always leave when you choose yourself. Like I'm always saying, you need to fly. FLY. First, love yourself. I gotta go. Good night. I pray this helped you. I'll be back with another red fox. Because guess what? A whole bunch of them, they may be little foxes, but they turn into wolves. It's up to you. Good night. Please share the message.